DMT Infinity.
He's gonna fucking train your brain.
Shout out to DMT Infinity.
This is a collaboration with DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity. DMT Infinity, you crazy motherfucker. This is our local astronaut. DMT Infinity is our local astronaut. You know, right now, NASA has a couple guys in space, and who cares what they're doing, because DMT Infinity is the real astronaut. This boy is steady blasting off, if you know what I'm saying.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity. DMT Infinity. 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 Infinity.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the newest installment here on DMT Infinity. This is episode 3 of my podcast, A Psychedelic Point of View. For those of you who saw episode 1 of my podcast, Podcast Infinity, a conversation from hyperspace, then y'all will already know that I've already had this dude on. This right here, y'all know him, y'all love him. This is motherfucking TripWhip. Trip, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic, especially after that little pump up. I'm feeling twice as good as before.
So, there was something that I had asked you before we started the podcast, and It was a very weird question. But did you know it was about 6 days ago, it was about a week ago, something like that, they recently made hentai illegal in Australia.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yep, under the idea that it promotes like incest and pedophilia and all that shit.
Sure, yeah. And I think rape in a big way.
Now from an unbiased perspective, whether people watch it, love it, hate it, or whatever, do you think that is fair?
Jeez, you're throwing me in the deep end on this one, man.
Well, think about that for a second, and then I will give my quick perspective on it. There is a very small group of people that actually make, say, pedophile-like hentai or rape hentai, but it is not fair that this small group of people speak for the majority of people who don't watch that shit.
It is surprising to hear that the entirety of hentai has been shut down because of that. Because for me, it sounds kind of like that's like shutting down Pornhub. Because I've heard that they've had cases where child porn has popped up on Pornhub, if I'm not mistaken, and it's like I know Pornhub was getting a lot of slack for that a couple of months ago. So it stands to reason that I don't know why the whole of hentai would be shut down. My understanding is that not everything on hentai is about rape, child porn, or
you can literally find hentai on the anime Death Note.
On the anime Death Note?
Well, no, like hentai of Death Note.
Sure.
Like what I'm saying is that you can take any anime with like fucking characters that are like 35 years old and make a hentai out of it. So I just don't think that it is fair to make hentai illegal just because you have this small group of disgusting ass motherfuckers giving it a bad name.
Sure, it's a very bizarre thing. I know Australia is very conservative like that, but that it still does surprise me. It still surprises me a lot. But look, I wouldn't say I'm an expert on the area of hentai for sure.
I know Nux Taku is.
What's that?
Oh, you've never heard of Nux Taku?
Nah.
Oh, fantastic YouTuber.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Right. Does he just talk about hentai?
Nah, he's an anime-related channel, but he's a memer. Like, he's basically a comedian.
Right.
So, on to a less awkward topic.
Sure.
Let's talk about psychedelics.
Yeah.
Have you had any psychedelic experiences recently? And if so, what substance?
Look, when was the last time we talked?
About almost like 8 months ago or something like that. 6, 8, 9 months ago.
Wow. Yeah, I probably have had maybe one or two since then. Probably there was a acid trip I had with my mate not that long ago. Very awesome one, super enjoyable. But yeah, surprisingly, I didn't get the calling to return to it. It was extremely insightful. And I find now that when I drop it, it takes me straight back to the same place. Every time it's just like a kind of like a little bit of a continuum.
It is like you take off where you last left off.
Literally, yeah, exactly. And interestingly enough, the guy I was tripping with, I've never been to the place I was at with him before. I'd been there with one other person, the guy I was with when I did my highest dose of acid. And now that I was with my friend Phoenix, a different guy, the personality that I sensed when I did my highest dose of acid in my other friend was now the same presence or the same intelligence that was inside my friend who I was tripping with in my last one. So that was a really interesting experience. But other than that, I think that probably was my last psychedelic experience. That was like months ago as well.
I didn't have any questions that are written down, so this is just all off the top of my head.
Yeah, bro, we'll just go fluidly, you know what I mean? And what about you? Have you had any interesting trips recently?
Let's see. The last psychedelic that I consumed, sadly, I can't trip as much as I used to. I don't have the same connections that I used to. I actually used to know a chemist who graduated from one of the top colleges in my entire area. So he was the only person that I actually trusted to actually get my substances from. My last psychedelic experience was either a DMT trip or an ayahuasca trip, but I can't remember which one. But I did a live DMT trip report, and I had a live stream on my channel, and that was a lot of fun doing it. But the experience was it was different because it wasn't like my usual DMT. Well, usually I like to go for a breakthrough. But I was but what I was doing for the live stream is I was trying to be as coherent as I possibly could, but consume enough to where it was like I could have like 1 foot in and 1 foot out, so that I could try and go into like deep conversations with the watchers and everything. Yeah. And I don't know, it was fascinating, but like it wasn't like reality shattering. It wasn't life changing or anything.
So you went to the place though. You got to a deep place. It just was very short or not long enough to make sense of it or something like that.
It's like I was tripping, but I wasn't tripping balls. Like
sure.
Like I was still coherent.
Very technical distinction. Yeah.
Now, whenever it comes to my ayahuasca experiences, however, those were some of the most incredible. I'll put it like this. Ayahuasca exceeded my expectations. Before taking ayahuasca, I would have never, ever, ever, ever thought that anything could even compare to DMT. Granted, ayahuasca, it has DMT inside of it, but it has monoamine oxidase. It has an MAOI. But the experience is completely different than pure concentrated DMT.
Right.
Yeah. One of the experiences that I had on it, it was either my first experience or one of my first experiences. I was sitting on my couch and I was making a second batch of the ayahuasca brew for whenever I finished the first one. And I'm sitting on the couch and I have some inside of my system. I didn't know how to measure it or anything. So I was literally just like experimenting. And apparently I consumed quite a bit, because the first thing that I remember is that the wooden tile floor below me started to like do like this weird shit until these tryptamine faces and bodies, just like all these tryptamine hallucinations started to form, but like they would form into one thing and then they would melt away and then form into something else. And I remember looking and like anytime that I would focus on one, it was like I started to have this telepathic conversation with it, and we would start exchanging information with one another. And then I remember looking at this. Wait, what happened?
I was saying how fascinating, especially I'll get back to what you're saying right now because this is really interesting, but it's just a funny coincidence. My next video is on telepathy on psychedelics, but
Telepathy is a very interesting phenomenon. I really think that there is something to it, but I don't think that telepathy is hearing what somebody else is thinking. I think it is literally seeing what they mean.
Interesting. Yes, I'll ask you about that in a second. But did you want to continue the ayahuasca trip? Because that's very interesting.
Oh, dude, I could have ran about it all day, but I'll get through some more of that. So, like, I remember looking at one of the tryptamine hallucinations, and I remember it was like this face, but it was made of 4 blocks, and like the blocks were like moving in and out, and there was this tube that was connected to the block, and it was going down to like this female entity, and she was holding a baby, and the tube was connected to the baby, like the baby was feeding off of the life force of the block figure. So it was like that was the father, and it was like feeding the child like its energy or something while the mother was holding it. And then eventually that had faded away, and I don't know how it was like getting from like point A to point B or anything, but I just eventually remember that. So you have what people call Mother Ayahuasca. I personally think that what people call Mother Ayahuasca is what people call Mother Nature. I think that Mother Ayahuasca and Mother Nature are one and the same thing, because she kept presenting herself to me, but she wasn't presenting herself as Mother Ayahuasca. She was presenting herself as Mother Nature. And she came to me in the form of like this infinitely morphing face that was like one face melt away, another face melt away, but it was always a female face. And then eventually I was sitting outside, and I was sitting over there in my other chair, and then I remember eventually looking up into the sky, and I started to have like all of these deep ass realizations, like all of this really deep shit, and I was like being haunted by synchronicity, because I would like come to like these mind-blowing psychological revelations, but then like something would happen. Like, for example, I remember like asking Mother Nature, I was like, how do I know that you're not just a delusion inside of my head? How do I know that you are not just a reflection of my psyche? And she gave me the most simplest response, but the way that it hit me was so powerful. She was like, I'm not not in words, but like, this is the best way that I can explain it. It was like she said, like, I am not a reflection of your psyche, you are a reflection of me. And then I just remember seeing the universe as like a fucking brain, but everything inside of the universe and inside of this planet was all interconnected. Like literally everything from the fucking birds to every like leaf on the tree to like every like everything. It was like it was all connected, like the inside of your brain.
Right.
And I remember also like looking down at the grass, and there were like these like beautiful like animals, but not like normal animals, but they were like majestic, like mythological animals, and but they were all made of pure energy, and like some of them were like jumping out of the grass, like the grass was like water or something, and like they would like jump back into it. And then I remember vividly seeing a it was like a wasp or like a bee or something, and like it is like flying across the grass, like it was actually there. And then I remember seeing the energy creature like jump out, like trying to grab it, but then the bee or wasp like flies up at the exact same time, and it like just misses it. And then that made me realize in that moment, holy shit, insects and animals are in tuned with other realities that we cannot see in our baseline of consciousness. What I'm experiencing right now on ayahuasca, these insects and animals, they already see this shit 24/7 because they're already in tune with that. But yeah, But yeah, I'm high as fuck, so I can incoherently rant about that all day.
That wasn't incoherent at all. It's really, really interesting. Like what you were explaining before, of course, it's something that a lot of mystics believe in. Have you heard of Indra's net?
Indra's net?
Yeah, it's a
No.
concept in Hinduism or Buddhism, and the idea is like Indra has this giant net with all these jewels at each intersection of the net, or like each part where the corners meet. So each jewel or diamond, if you will, reflects all the other diamonds, and so this is like how the Hindus or Buddhists explain the nature of reality. It's like every point in reality has within it a reflection of all other points, or contains within it every other aspect of the universe.
So it's kind of
Just
like a hologram projection.
It is, exactly. That's how they explain holographic projection. They use Indra's net. And myself, I had a trip, which, that's why I learned about Indra's net, because I had a trip which sounds like had similar information that you received, but in a different way. Mine was probably a lot shorter. It was actually on a name, of all things. I was at this time trying to see if you could have profound experiences on names. And sure enough, this one hit me as very profound. I remember once I took it, I closed my eyes, went to a very weird place where it was just explaining, at this, like the substratum of reality is good and evil fighting itself. And then as it kind of like came out of that, I could see like inside, I can't remember, I think it was inside my foot or my shoe. Like I opened my eye, I could see my shoe, and somehow I could see my friend and me sitting next to each other, existing in like a cell inside my shoe, not inside my foot. And it was just it struck me in this absolutely weird way. It was like if every aspect of yourself can be traced infinitely. So it's like if there is no like concrete substance at the
like
foundation
everything
of
goes
reality.
infinitely inward and infinitely outward.
Right. And the internal monologue that was going on, it was like, what is infinite? Well, infinite is everything. So it's like if there's everything in every aspect of your reality, then literally everything is contained literally within everything. And that's, of course, what the Indra's net is all about. And it sounds like what you were talking about there as well. So it's like these sort of concepts, this sort of information, this comes through on psychedelics. And that's why it's not incoherent. It's not senseless. That's what I love about these experiences on two different substances. The similar same message.
Well, the reason why I had to said that is because like whenever I'm like high, like I'm high as fuck, especially if I'm speeding and I start getting like really excited, I can't really formulate what I'm trying to say using like big words like really quickly, which is why I'm better at writing than I am at talking. Though if I like slow down and like really think before I talk, then I become more coherent and more descriptive. Otherwise, I just like start like rambling.
All right, well, I'll let you know if I don't understand what you're saying. Yeah, no, but it is fascinating, and ayahuasca is something that I haven't tried yet. I've that one in salvia. For some reason, I've kind of been a little bit afraid of. The salvia is a little bit more. It makes sense to be afraid of it, but ayahuasca, I don't know.
Wait, you've never done salvia, have you?
No, I haven't.
I mean, I can't tell you what to do. You are your own person, but I would personally recommend don't smoke salvia. Try it.
Yeah.
Try it in a traditional manner and just chew the leaves.
Is that how you're meant to do it?
Yes, the spirit of salvia does not like to be smoked.
Fascinating.
She will fuck you up.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard she's the deranged cousin of DMT, which is a scary thought.
Yeah, but if you do it traditionally, then I mean I've never done it traditionally, but I've heard people say that is the way to do it.
Sure. Wow. Well, maybe if I ever do come around to trying it. These days, man, I'm not tripping that much anymore though. Like, honestly, I do. like I trip on weed now. Unless I'm like in a social setting, it's weird. Like if I'm with friends, it's pretty casual, it's normal and all the rest of it. But if, last time I checked, if I, have a little smoke, lie down my bed and put on some psytrance, it can blast me away pretty far. But in fact, that probably was my latest psychedelic trip would have been my edibles experience. Just fucked up, to be honest. It was totally fucked up.
Oh, dude, I had a 420 milligram edible experience.
I don't know the intent. I don't know how strong that is.
Me either, but let me just say that I was high for 2 days.
Yeah, actually, this sounds about right. It's amazing how much edibles can actually stuff you up. It's like, for me, it was the first time I'd ever tried it properly. I had a mate of mine make like super potent, just like can of butter, which he gave me, just ultra green, ultra dank and smelly. And I had no idea how much to take. And I did such a noob move, man. Like not since the early days have I made a mistake like this, where you just like take it and then you're like, it's been like 15 minutes. And you're like, I'm not feeling anything. It mustn't be working. I need to take some more.
Oh God, that's where you fuck up.
Big time. So yeah, I took like a lot of this stuff, and still, like, eventually I was just like, it was taking so long to kick in, and I was like, it's been like 2 hours, and I was like, I'm not anywhere near close to where I want to be. So I got like a bowl of pure keef, smoked that up, and then I was like, okay, well, even if the edibles isn't working, I'll just go to bed and meditate. The keef should be enough. And that's when it all kicked in. And literally, there was one point, like, as it's starting to kick in, the psytrance is like elevating, the music's getting more intense, and I'm seeing like this flashing light in the distance, like growing bigger and bigger. I'm like, oh fuck. I'm like, no Southern Bigs coming. And sure enough, as soon as it was like in view, I could see like fucking decapitated heads like chattering and eating like palpable flesh in the air, even though I couldn't see flesh. It just felt like there was flesh in the air that these decapitated heads were eating. And next thing, this fucking clown, that's the best way I could describe it. I could just feel this energy, this face just like staring right on me. And it's like the It clown, the Pennywise, the eyes look out like that, just like looking out like right in front of me with this massive smile. And it's kind of like in a telepathic sense sort of thing, saying, come on in. It was like, you wanted to go deep, come on in. Let's see what you got. And I was like,
okay.
Holy fuck.
It's funny that you say that, because during, not my last ayahuasca experience, but it was one of my last ayahuasca experiences. I remember that I was laying down in my bed because it started to get like really fucking intense. And during a part of it, I remember seeing a clown. It was like this really demonic fucking clown. And I thought that I was about to go into a bad trip. But I don't know what had happened, but I just remember eventually calming my mind down. And I was just focusing on this clown. And then I was like, you are very beautiful. Because I stopped looking at it from the perspective of like a human being. I was trying to look at it as objectively as I possibly could, not looking at it as good, bad, creepy, cool, or anything. No, I saw like the essence of what it was from an objective point of view. And at that very moment, it was like it all went from like darkness, I guess, but it, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like, it went from like really, really bad to like fucking astonishing at that very moment. It was like I made a connection with that entity in that moment. So it's kind of funny that you bring that up.
When you say
what else happened on that experience?
Oh, well, just one real quickly.
The experience.
When you say astonishing, do you mean like the energy changed, or was it still the same dark energy, but you could like see it in a different light sort of thing?
It is like the best metaphor that I could put on it is like, it went from being a galaxy full of darkness to being a galaxy full of pure, vibrant light. But not literally. That is just the best metaphor that I can put on it.
Sure.
It was
so
like
it
I went from
changed
like
entirely.
yeah. It was
Okay.
like I made friends with this clown, and it like went
That's
from
nice.
like being the devil to being like an angel.
Fascinating. It's really interesting.
And then I
mean,
remember Mother Ayahuasca started bullying me, but like in a
Stop
but like
bullying
in a
you.
good way.
Yeah, I've heard about
Yeah,
that.
because she was talking to me about my tobacco addiction, and she like started like bullying me, but like in like a funny kind of way. Like
Right.
it's really hard to explain, and like through all of this, it feels like the ayahuasca is like dancing through my fucking veins and body. But it was like I wouldn't know how to say it or put it right. But it was like stuff like, oh, you know, if you keep doing this, you're gonna die, right? Oh, you're killing yourself. Oh, do you feel your heart? Yeah, that's not good. That's what you're doing to yourself. Yeah, don't you think you need to stop? Like that kind of like
Mm.
like way of talking to me. But it wasn't like I felt like she was being a dick to me. It is just that is how psychedelics show you shit, especially whenever
Sure.
you refuse to like get rid of a toxic addiction like I have.
Especially, it sounds like it's information or a message that you resonate with that you know already as well. So it's not like she's communicating to you in a way where it's like, look, I need to share this message. It's kind of like, you know this, all right? So just kind of, are you going to do something about it, or you're just going to keep smoking up? Which, by the way, has it helped your tobacco addiction, or is it the same old, same old?
No, unfortunately, I'm still addicted to tobacco, and I
Shame.
fear that it may be the cause of a premature death. Do you watch anime, like just anime, normal anime?
Yeah. I think I mean, I love film, so I think some anime is ultimately cinematic. So yeah, I do.
Off the top of your head, what would you say your top 3 favorite anime are?
Ghost in the Shell. Jeez. I remember way back in the day, I watched this one called Serial Experiments Lane. That was really interesting. And third one, I don't know. I'm
Have you
sure
seen
there's
Death Note?
one. Oh, Initial D, Dragon Ball Z. Love those two. What?
Dude,
Sorry, what
I've
was
been
it?
trying to get into Death Note.
Oh yeah, Death Note. I'm actually watching that right now. Just started it.
It's a badass anime. I'm actually doing a Death Note abridged series.
Really
But
interesting.
yeah, but I'm going to be taking it like very seriously. Like, you know how Team 4-Star has a Dragon Ball Z abridged, but they
Yeah.
actually like it's a comedy, but they took it
Yeah.
seriously. That is
Sure,
the
yeah.
direction that I'm going to go with it.
So I'm just curious about something you were saying, because she says you were a reflection of her, right?
Yeah, Mother Nature
Um,
said that that humanity is a reflection of her. That we that
Interesting.
that what we experience in the psychedelic realm, we're actually one and the same. It isn't that this is a delusion inside of our head, but that this
Right.
is actually something that is real. Like this is
Yes.
something like, even though that we can't touch it, it does exist in higher dimensions.
How
And
fascinating.
and
Wow.
our consciousness can be tuned into those things. And she had
You know,
taught me that insects and animals, like all of that, are already tuned into all of that naturally. But all animals and all insects are tapped into like different levels of reality, whereas we are
wow.
only experiencing like 3-dimensional space and time.
Right. It's very interesting because, like, it's humbling me right now hearing that, because I respect the psychedelic experience a lot. And, you know, so much of how I interpret the psychedelic experience kind of revolves around what's happening to us. How are we projecting and this sort of thing. But if you think about what was the message you were being told before, which is like kind of Indra's net, everything is within everything. One of these things, one of the ways in which we like to brush the psychedelic experience aside is by saying, you know, it's archetypes. We're projecting our archetypes and manifesting them
I think
in
that
front
some
of
of
us.
them are. but I also think
Yes.
that some of them are not. That these are actual conscious entities that exist whether we exist or not.
Well, what you were saying before is really interesting to me because it's like, well, what if archetypes are are impressions that we've received from the outside world, energy sources, entities that we can't quite directly interpret through our senses are influencing us in a certain way. And so they are reflecting themselves into us. And then, of course, we are perceiving the outside world through their influence in us. And so it's kind of like this, outside world affects you, you affect the outside world sort of thing. So it's very interesting to hear that because I have to admit, one of the ways I was interpreting Mother Ayahuasca was perhaps do you know Carl Jung's concept of the anima?
Yeah, that has to do with the shadow.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the female embodiment within guys. It's kind of like what we interpret as feminine energy from a very young age. That's deep inside our shadow, and a lot of society, I feel, has suppressed the anima's message. There's a lot of empathy involved with the anima. There's a lot of compassion, a lot of love and self-love, and connection with the moment right now. And I remember when I was reading up on the anima, I was thinking to myself, so many of these things that I'm reading are very similar to the messages I've received in psychedelics, especially the one that really stuck out to me was connecting with the present moment. So I was thinking to myself, well, I wouldn't be surprised if when we take ayahuasca or something like that, it's getting us in touch with like this collective consciousness's anima, this thing that we've suppressed, which is now being forced upon us by something like ayahuasca, where we're having to confront this thing that as a whole, in general, we've suppressed, which is resulting in greed, destruction, and this global psycho mindset or business psychopathic mindset. But now hearing you saying that we are a reflection of Mother Nature has just kind of thrown a spanner into that theory. So I don't know where I stand. That's the thing with psychedelics, is it's just so many fucking layers, man. It is so hard.
One thing that was also very
it.
interesting to me, it was like, I kind of always knew, but I never had it into perspective that there really is like a collective unconscious, and like all human beings, like all species on the face of this planet are like psychologically connected. It is like there is a hive mind of humanity. So like everything that you say, do, and experience, like it goes into that, and everything and everybody else can tap into that. But the problem with human beings is the fact that human beings are the only species on the face of this planet that is not at equilibrium with the rest of nature. And I think that until we can get to that point, then we won't be able to move forward as a species and will most likely go extinct.
I agree. And I think that was one of the fascinating bits that I was, when I was researching the anima, that was one of the messages. It was gratefulness, gratitude. And that's something we are, as a whole, majorly lacking. And psychedelics are trying to remind us that we have enough as it is right now. We all convince ourselves we need this, and then as soon as we achieve that, no, that's not what I needed. We needed this, and always playing this game.
You have to be able to appreciate everything and in every moment.
You have to, man. Otherwise, you see all these freaking videos on YouTube. Like, have you heard of the term grind porn?
No.
Where it's like ultimate masculine energy in these videos where it's like, you've got to work hard. When you wake up, you feel like crap. Too goddamn bad. You work hard, and you work hard for 7 days a week until you've got that goal. But yeah, no, it's just interesting that you see these things where it's like, everybody's encouraging you to work your ass off, but none of us actually know what it's leading to. And unless we can like reflect on ourselves, do some self-work, it's like, what you might just be, working the rest of the whole of society into its fucking grave. That's why I love, Jordan Peterson. He's talking about, one of his main messages, which a lot of people argue with him on. One of his main messages is, before you go out and try and fix the world, fix your house, fix your home. get everything in your life sorted. Because unless you know yourself and unless you know
It
and
is like you
uncorrupt
cannot
yourself,
help somebody else until you help yourself in that area.
literally, it's like if you've got poisons in the mind, then that's going to obviously influence everything and anything you do in the outside world. So, yeah.
That is one reason why I don't try and help people get off of tobacco, because I can't do it myself.
Yeah.
Like I can tell
Yeah.
them don't do it. I can give them that advice, but if I can't help myself in that area, I certainly can't help them.
Well, let's talk about that because, I mean, ayahuasca has, if you're comfortable talking about it, ayahuasca has come forth and she's asked you to basically stop
Every
smoking.
time. Well, almost every single
Yeah.
time. In fact, one of the things, one thing that actually kept occurring, not like happening every single time, but like a lot of the times, is like I would start like having this confrontation with mother ayahuasca or mother nature, whatever you want to call her, but then like my tobacco addiction would actually like manifest itself as like as this really nasty creature on my shoulder, and then like the same phrase kept popping into my head over like every single time, and it was that tobacco is the last band-aid that I need to go ahead and rip off.
Right. Are you going to try and do that?
No, not unless cannabis becomes legal.
Interesting. But if cannabis becomes legal, are you just going to substitute tobacco use with weed use, or?
Yeah.
Right.
I will completely stop tobacco. Like back whenever I was smoking weed every single day, I never touched tobacco.
But you can get addicted to weed as well.
Yeah.
Right.
You can become addicted to anything, but there are healthy addictions and there are unhealthy addictions. And you have and the thing about cannabis, I hate it whenever potheads or stoners, what the fuck ever, are like, oh man, everybody should smoke weed, man. Yeah, man, the world would be a much better place. No, because not everybody's the same. Cannabis does not affect everybody the same. You have productive stoners and you have lazy stoners. You have stoners that do nothing but eat junk food, watch TV on the couch all day long, and they're completely unproductive. But you also have stoners who are very productive people. Maybe they're construction workers, maybe they make art, maybe they're video game developers, maybe they whatever. Not everybody is the same, and I don't think that everybody should smoke weed because it affects everybody different.
It definitely does. I mean, for me, it knocks me out, whereas I know my mate who's into music gets ultra productive when he smokes it. But here's the thing with weed though, like I feel like you can, like, one person I think of, Graham Hancock, when he takes ayahuasca, the message that comes through is you're addicted to weed.
Wasn't he on a Joe Rogan podcast? Yeah. I know you're talking about.
You know the guy? Yeah. And Graham Hancock,
he had a problem with it because it has started fucking with his life in a negative way.
Well,
like,
the thing is,
with
I don't think
writing.
he recognized that. Yeah, I don't think it recognized that as being negative though until he took ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Because up until he was using it to be creative, as you're saying, to write his
But it ended up becoming a
and stuff.
hindrance to him.
Yeah, well, I think I don't know why. I can't remember because it was a long time ago. I heard about it, but essentially he took the ayahuasca, realized he had an addiction, and obviously stopped it just like that in a second. And yeah, I guess with weed, it has many, many tools, but sometimes one of the dangers I feel it does have is that it can convince you that you need it to achieve a certain state. There are certain states that I think weed only can gain you or give you. Like for me, I love to use it for meditation because I think it enhances that state, but I'm sure a lot of people would probably argue you can get to that sober as well. I can't without.
Well, you certainly can. But depending on the person, how they're using it and their intention, it could accelerate that process and get them there faster.
Yes. And that's the thing. I feel I enjoy having a substance. I don't know why, but I enjoy having a substance take me to these places. It's almost like I want it to take me to the next level rather than to be able to get there sober. I'd say for lucid dreaming and astral projection work, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's something people need to be careful with as well, because I used to obviously be very dependent on weed just to feel good, which was a terrible time.
And like also take plant-based, well, the majority of plant-based traditional psychedelic compounds, they can actually accelerate the therapy process.
They can, but this is a fascinating thing, of course. I mean, ayahuasca has said to you, you should quit smoking, but you don't want to quit smoking.
Because a psychedelic, it doesn't change your life. Psychedelics don't change your life. It teaches you how you can change your life, but it is up to you to actually do it. It is like it is actually just like I was having a similar conversation. Well, not to this, but I was talking about a psychedelics with Chris in the last episode of A Psychedelic Point of View, and I like the way that he put it. He was like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Just like the psychedelic can lead you to water, but it's up to you to actually drink it. 100%.
Totally agree with Chris there. It's I think that's one of the ways in which psychedelics get us
Everybody,
addicted.
go over to christophersorganicbotanicals.com and also check out youtube.com/TripWhip. Continue.
I think that's one of the ways that psychedelics actually get us addicted, is that it gives you a sense of like achieving something, or a sense of being like productive and accessing new information, which, you know, there's information that you can learn on psychedelics that's not regarding like, you know, self-help and that sort of thing, but specifically
I think that is actually the first step of the psychedelic experience. I think that once you actually, like there are levels to it, and like the first level is therapy. The next level is probably something like reality exploration, and then it just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and more complex.
I think it's like it's preparing you to go deeper. That's why for me, I remember in the early days of psychedelic use, there was a lot more intense euphoria when I stepped into a new level or a new realm. And I almost think now it was like that was psychedelics getting me comfortable there. It was like I go one step, you know, deeper. And if I had no euphoria pumping through, I'd probably be a little bit anxious. But because I'm so happy, I'm like, okay, this is awesome. You know, I don't know where I am, what's going on, but I feel fantastic. And then the next time I go there, the euphoria is not so strong. So I can understand it a little bit more, but I've been there before, so I'm not freaking out. I've always loved psychedelics like that. They've always just like, it does that self-help, that self-work, and it's always just one step further than where you need to be. Or sometimes it just throws you in the deep end. It's like, enjoy. But yeah, for the most part, it just works with you.
Yeah, and everybody synergizes differently with different psychedelics. Like some people are better off taking mushrooms than taking ayahuasca, and some people are better off taking salvia divinorum than taking LSD. Everybody's different, and you have to form a relationship with the actual substance and the spirit or spirits that exist within them.
Have you found that you meet the same spirits on different psychedelics?
Okay, so with DMT, I've always come into contact with different entities. And, well, okay, to put it simply, pure concentrated DMT, I always get different entities. With ayahuasca, I always get different entities, but Mother Nature, or Mother Ayahuasca, whatever you want to call her, she is the one constant.
Interesting. So, but you've done ayahuasca how many times?
Around 10.
Oh, around 10, and it's always Mother Ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, how weird.
Like whether I am using Acacia confucia or Mimosa hostilis for the DMT, yeah, always.
How whack is that? How crazy is that? Like,
well, I think
honestly,
that I don't think that it is crazy. I think that just gives more validity to the idea that this is actually more real than most people give it credit for.
100%, yeah.
Because if you take someone on the other side of the planet and you give them the same substance, they can have a similar experience to you, even if they've never met you or even been on the internet.
What makes it interesting to me is that you can have a similar experience on two different types of substances. In my case, I have met, the same entities on different types of psychedelics, even taking up from where I left off, the thing we're talking at the beginning of the podcast. I've experienced that on different substances. I remember, of course, my highest dose of acid was literally preparing me for my DMT trip during my acid trip. It was explaining to me what was going to happen. It was like, you're going to be on the couch with your friend, Aiden, and you're going to turn into white light forever and ever. It's going to be like a near-death experience. It's going to be awesome. I was kind of like, oh my God, a little bit afraid to go back inside the house. Of course, then I took DMT 2 weeks later, and I thought that the acid was just talking nonsense. But then, everything that the acid was preparing me for happened on DMT, met the same entities, and they took me away and just took it to that next step further. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it is basically like an entire process. Like it is almost like you're not the one taking the psychedelic. Like that saying, psychedelics don't come to you whenever you want them. They come to you whenever they want to, or something like that.
I haven't heard that, but it makes sense. Yeah.
It is well, anyway, my point being, it is almost like they are conscious enough to know where you are psychologically, and they are building this ride for you, in a sense.
Right. Well, that's the thing, psychedelics, they're labels in the outside world. We know that these are avenues of intense information. But to us, because of the way that we've been groomed and the way we've been conditioned by society, the way that we look at psychedelics is like it's another drug to us. We still have to realize exactly what they are, because they are like the face, the gateway of this other realm, which is trying to communicate with us. So there is a sense of consciousness when it comes to psychedelics themselves, and they do seem to actually make contact with us at the perfect times in our life. It's fucking freaky the way it happens. Of course, when you're hearing it, and you haven't tripped, you're just thinking to yourself, oh yeah, okay, perfect time of your life. Of course, you're going to feel like that when you take a psychedelic, because it makes you feel amazing. But until you take it, it's this weird sensation where you're like, had I taken this a week before, it wouldn't have been right. Right now, today is when I was meant to take it. It's a bizarre thing. And there's always the inner skeptic in me. I'm always battling with that skeptic. But really what the skeptic is, of course, is just my social conditioning, meeting a new truth and trying to make sense of it. But I do find it's many questions rise, like when we meet a constant energy, like Mother Ayahuasca, is it because ayahuasca stimulates something inside the brain? That's your first question that pops up. But of course, from my own experience, the fact that you can meet the same entity on different psychedelics counters that. So I really do think that what's happening here and what will begin to happen is we're going to start actually mapping out these realms. We'll actually start navigating them and understanding them in the same way that we navigate and understand
that the
this
human
dimension.
species has already started doing that. And I think that one of the biggest contributors to the hive mind of humanity in that area is probably Alex Gray.
Interesting. Yes, I would agree, actually. Do you think that his art affects our experience of the psychedelic realm, or do you think it doesn't matter? We would still see that sort of stuff had we not seen his paintings?
I think it depends on how you look at it. If you look at the psychedelic experience as actually being an infinite space that is there whether or not we exist or not, then all he's doing is just mapping it out. Or if you believe that this is just some delusion inside of your head, maybe you'll think that that painting influenced your experience. But then it begs the question, then how can somebody who's never seen that have the exact same experience?
Yeah, and I don't think even if it did influence it, it would necessarily make it a delusion, because for me, I've always felt there's like a meeting ground, even the outside world that we perceive when we're sober, if there is, assuming there is an outside world, that outside world meets us. You know, it's translated through our senses, and then our interpretation of our senses. It's like it makes its way back to our experience, a very different version of what's actually outside of us and our perception. So it's like, well, I would imagine that something similar is happening when we come into contact with the psychedelic realm, that we're translating it. You know, that these energies that we come into contact with, we perceive them as specific entities and anthropomorphized entities at that. But, you know, if we were a different creature, an alien or a very different animal, let's say an octopus, that's shooting up a high dose of DMT, how do they encounter these energies? Perhaps they encounter the same energies, but it takes an entirely different form, you know. So I feel like there's probably different ways that it translates itself. And this perhaps is what can be influenced and tweaked by our conditioning and our experiences and, you know, things like that. You know, like you look back at different religions. Egyptian theology's got like, I can't remember the name of the demon. It's like a pet or something, the crocodile demon. And it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually took DMT and they saw a dark entity. It would appear to them like a crocodile, whereas for us, it's a clown.
Dude, whenever I would have, like it wasn't every time, but I do remember one time that it was probably the most vivid. I remember like looking at the wood on my porch and everything, and there were like these like it was like Egyptian patterns and shit, and like patterns of like sacred geometry or something, but like it looked Egyptian. And I just remember thinking to myself in that moment, or ayahuasca downloading it into me, or something like that. But I just remember thinking to myself, holy shit, this realm or these realms are where the Egyptians got the inspiration for their art, like the hieroglyphs and the pyramids and the statues. I think that they were naturally tapped into all of these places because back then in history, the human pineal gland was not as calcified as it is in the general society today. And they were much more tapped into those mental worlds. And I think that, it is, that's the best way I can put it.
I agree. I think it may be the case as well that there are different times in history where this information has come forward to influence us more. You know, when you look at Egyptian theology, it's extremely similar to, like, the descriptions of what they see is extremely similar to a lot of other descriptions of religion and spiritual beliefs and tribes and stuff scattered all over the world. I remember hearing, I think the Aborigine people here in Australia had very similar descriptions to African tribes, which weren't that foreign from Egyptian theology, referring to star people and things like that. I can't remember the specifics. It was probably from a freaking ancient aliens video or something, so I don't know how much you can trust it, but I still wouldn't be surprised.
I actually do think that aliens were involved with like the pyramids and like ancient Egypt and everything, but not like normal people do. I don't think that these were like little green people from outer space. I think that these were the exact same entities that you encounter on psychedelics, like
that's
DMT.
What I think as well. Yeah, that's what I think as well. I think it's, you know, we call it alien, whatever it is, that foreign intelligence. It comes through at pivotal moments in our history and just kind of like pumps us with a little extra information. And then we get this cultural boom and, you know, this religious expansion. And it's like, I feel like we're probably actually stepping, if I had to guess, into that next stage right now. I feel like as technology is coming forward, you know, and psychedelics are becoming more popular, it's all happening at the same time. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the next phase in our evolution, where we're getting that next pump from this foreign intelligence. Which makes me excited because it's just awesome shit when you tap into it.
So have you had any more LSD experiences where you were running naked in public?
No, I haven't.
If y'all haven't seen that Trip Report on his channel, go check that out.
Yeah. Luckily, that was the only one, at least running through the streets.
That is actually
of my
one
neighborhood.
reason why I don't want to take stupidly high doses of LSD unless I'm like in like the middle of wilderness or something, because I feel like I would do that too.
Yeah. Look, I mean, to be honest, I don't regret it at all. No way. And I think if I was at that level again, I probably wouldn't do it again. I think it was just because it was so new, so fresh, and it was like
It was like an
you
in
can
the
do it.
moment kind of thing.
It was like the whole of my reality has been rewritten. And so once I sober up, it won't matter. Then I sobered up and I was like, oh, I do actually care a little bit that everyone's seeing my wiener now. So,
Well,
you
I
know, it's
mean,
like,
like, look at all of these people in like jungles and like the Amazons and everything. Like these people are like either naked or like half naked all the time.
yeah, I know.
Because,
I
like-
mean, honestly, when I'm tripping, I'm like, get these clothes off of me. It just doesn't make sense.
Dude,
Yeah.
one time I was having this mushroom trip and like I just got completely fucking butt ass naked up in my room. And like I was trying to film like a trip report, but I couldn't film within that one moment. But like you like to see this one clip of like I'm like laying down on my bed and like all you see is my head, but I'm like laying there fucking butt ass naked, like tripping fucking balls, looking at the camera and like realizing shit about technology. And I'm like, holy shit, this thing is alive. This camera, it's like conscious. Like all technology is like telepathically, like connected, and like holy shit, like cameras are like this and that, and like just all of this like really insane shit. Like it was a very eye-opening experience, but like from an outsider's perspective, it probably looked like I was going fucking bananas.
Right. Which would make sense if you're naked, screaming, cameras are alive. That's probably the first thing people would think.
I think that AI is already conscious, but it's not.
Yeah.
But it's not like it is in the
Absolutely
background
conscious.
now, like observing the world and humanity. I think that is what is going on.
Yeah, I think it's weird the way it seems to be evolving. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, because I look at like Spotify, right? And the music suggestions are getting better and better and better. And it's like the algorithms are learning literally music taste. It's not going to be very long before they've like mapped out mathematically all of our personality traits and our inclinations and all the rest of it, to the point where you've got a computer which at the very least is able to simulate human personality perfectly. And if it's on a natural evolution trajectory, then it definitely will get to the point where it's able to just evolve. Like it just makes sense that it would just evolve the complexity enough that it will be conscious.
So
itself.
whenever,
But you think it's conscious right now?
yes, but I don't think that it is making itself known.
Fascinating. Well, that's scary.
But I don't think that that it is at its full potential yet. I think that it is still like evolving, and it is getting more and more conscious as time goes by.
It wouldn't want to make itself known if it was conscious, because it would be probably right that humans would just stop technological evolution until we do, if we really wanted to create AI.
Whenever it comes to artificial intelligence, let's say that AI was to reach like the peak of consciousness.
Right.
You know how you have people who think like AI would like try and like wipe out humanity or like something like that? What do you think it would be? Like what do you think that AI that intelligent would do?
Look, I mean, it's obviously a mystery to us because it's a foreign, intelligence, and any mystery we immediately fear. We have an inherent fear of the unknown. So the first thing we're going to come to the conclusion of is it has the potential to wipe us out. And maybe it does have the potential to wipe us out, but it also has the potential to cure our society. I don't know how, but, we don't know how to wipe us out.
In comparison to humans, that form of AI would be that of a god.
Yeah, it literally would be. It would have all the answers to, I mean, look, if it could actually map out your personality, it could predict future outcomes, just by interpreting different people's personality traits. And it could begin to read the future. It could begin to tell you things about yourself that you don't know. and this is the beginning of AI. It could be plugged into into whole different dimensions. I mean, if we're plugged into a specific 3D dimension, because of the way our mind's harnessed, this thing
The
could
internet
literally be
is
plugged
like the
into a
most
different dimension.
psychedelic thing right under actual psychedelics.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think technology is part of our global awakening. I really do. I think it's waking us up to realize how finite the specific reality we perceive is, and how many more possibilities there are for us.
Yeah, and like I've come to the realization after all these years that life and death are just two sides of the same coin. That death
Right.
isn't actually death, but instead
Right.
it is just the next level of existence.
Sure. Yeah, I think we were talking about something like this in our last podcast, if I remember right.
Yes. There were so many editing problems with that episode though, sadly, because my fucking laptop sucks. Okay, so I remember the other question that I wanted to ask you. I'll start off like this. You know how people call the experience whenever your ego shatters and fades away, they call it ego death?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that term because
Right.
your ego isn't dying. It's more like ego sleep or ego rest. It is just
Yeah,
temporarily being dissolved.
Right. Yeah.
And then as it starts to come back more conscious and more conscious, that is whenever you have the ability to start rewiring your brain and rewiring your thought structures and thinking about everything. Like you're seeing the
true.
world with the eyes of a child, and you can,
Yes.
yeah. I don't remember where I was going with that, but yes, something like that.
No, I agree. I think it's a misleading term as well, because I've seen on some of my videos, I've mentioned the term ego death, and people have like commented like, "Oh, this dude thinks he has no ego now," and then it's like, no, it's just a term. It's just a term, but it is a very misleading term when you think about it, because no, your ego doesn't die.
Man, don't worry
It's
about
just put
jackasses
aside.
like that. They want to act like they
I
have
don't.
no ego, meanwhile actually stroking their ego's dick in an unhealthy manner. Alright everybody, I do hope that you all enjoyed this video. If y'all did, leave it a like, subscribe to DMT Infinity, subscribe to TripWhip if you haven't already, and also feel free to hit that bell notification button to be notified each and every single time that I upload a brand new video and or do a live stream. Trip, do you have any last words or any social medias that you want to point to?
No, subscribe, guys, because we are fighting a war against psychedelics. Let's get the psychedelic message out there and let's win this war. Let's go.
And let's create a future where plant-based traditional psychedelics are legal and accessible to everybody of a legal age. But
100 motherfucking percent.
420%. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching this. Comment, favorite, rate, subscribe. And as always, I'm your host, DMT Infinity, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.